Hey everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Mike Gibb. I run accountsrecovery.net, and I want to welcome you to today's webinar on all the things AI can and can't do inside a collection operation. For all the possibilities and opportunities that artificial intelligence brings to the ARM industry, there is just as much uncertainty and skepticism. Knowing what is and what isn't AI and what it can and can't do is essential to putting it to good use inside your operation. So today, in this webinar, we've got a panel of experts here to break down how AI can be used inside your operation so you can understand how you should be incorporating it. Let me introduce you to our panelists. Lucas Brown is a seasoned analytics consultant with more than 20 years of experience in the ARM industry. He specializes in applied analytics to optimize consumer engagement and recovery processes. Lucas's analytics leadership and consulting experience encompasses work with collection agencies, debt buyers, originators, and artificial intelligence and machine learning fintech companies. He's committed to operationalizing data analytics in order to advance capabilities and drive innovation. Shantanu Gangal is the CEO of Prodigal. Prodigal improves the customer experience and compliance and boosts revenues by running artificial intelligence models on the richest source of data, your text, telephone, and email communications with customers. Each month, Prodigal analyzes nearly 10 million borrower interactions to find insights that increase productivity and drive liquidation. Prodigal is backed by Menlo Ventures, Excel, and other leading venture investors from the Bay Area. Before founding Prodigal, Shantanu was a head of data science at Fundbox, a small business lender where he leveraged machine learning to build actionable and powerful collection strategies. Shantanu has an MBA from Wharton University of Pennsylvania. Vaibhav Gupta is a director of GTM and product delivery at Skit.ai and leads the tech solutions and delivery of voice and multi-channel conversational AI solutions for North American enterprises to revolutionize interactions in the debt collections and customer contact center space. Prior to this, he worked with Schlumberger, an oil and gas service company in multiple geographies, driving tech and operational delivery for leading upstream operators. Eyal Peleg is the CTO and co-founder of Cedric.ai. The Cedric OS and its co-pilot serve as the account recovery operational guardrails, not only managing risk, but also enabling the company to move faster without breaking things. Cedric has created the first love story between compliance and operations, embracing a can-do approach. Prior to founding Cedric, Eyal served as a technology leader at Intel's global AI group for more than a decade. In that role, he utilized data science and cloud-native technologies to develop AI products across multiple verticals within Intel. His technical expertise is grounded in a Bachelor of Science in Information Systems Engineering and a Master's of Science in Data Science. Everybody who's watching us live today is absolutely invited to ask questions and submit comments during the course of our webinar. You can use the chat or the Q&A to submit your questions or comments. If you wish to participate anonymously, click on the anonymous button in the Q&A, and anything that you send to us is sent anonymously. All right, so what I want to do first, before we kind of get too deep into our conversation, is sort of give each of you a chance to share what you think you want people who are watching this to walk away from this conversation with. What is the underlying theme to today's discussion for you? Lucas, you signed on last, so that means you get to go first.
I really have to start showing up earlier. I feel like
you really do. You thought you'd learned your lesson by now, but hey.
I know, I don't. Maybe I just like going first, Mike. Yeah, what I think it's about for me is, certainly, understanding what is possible with AI and what the limitations are. But I really think that the theme that I have in mind is really about understanding that there's not one model or one type of AI out there that's going to solve all of your problems in a collection operation. It's really about learning and being open to how you can kind of have an orchestration of all the different tools and types of models that are out there, where you can combine those to really impact your operations in a lot of different ways. So it's not about one tool for everything. It's about really building the toolbox.
Excellent. Thank you. Vaibhav?
Yeah, for me, I think I want people in this webinar to leave with at least or equipped with at least first level of analysis so that they can go back and do a first level of analysis of their organization to understand if there is a utilization of there's a use case of AI in their organization. I mean, if the answer is not a hard no, there are obviously experts in the industry who can help out to find that particular sweet spot where the AI application lies. But yeah, I want people to leave equipped to understand if AI can somehow help them to sort any particular use case in the organization.
Okay, thank you. Shantanu?
I'll build upon what Lucas said, which was very astute. Specifically, AI requires also a lot of patience, and AI isn't one size fits all. So a lot of people not only need to understand like what is possible today versus what is not possible today, but also what will be possible 6 months down, 2 years down, and so on and so forth. What I do believe in is, and this was part of my pitch for this webinar, is progress in days seems like slow, but progress in decades seems fast. And this is Bill Gates said it better. And so to that extent, even when you need to change your entire business as a collection agency in the 5 to 10 year time frame, there are things that you need to start doing differently, which may not look like AI today, which might look like data collection, which might look like setting up your teams for the change that is coming, which is 100% not AI, but that will help you leapfrog competition in the 3 to 5 to 7 year time frame. So not only realizing like what is the lay of the land today and what are the pieces and the special power of each of the pieces today, but also laying up the chessboard so that you can also prepare yourself to make a move 2 to 4 to 5 years down the road. That is something we should all discuss, and hopefully the audience gets a good perspective of what.
Excellent. Definitely plan on following up on that. IL?
Yeah, so I think that first off, any business needs to first define its goals properly, and then AI is a means to an end, right? So as the panel said, rightfully so, we have many options out there. Some of them need and require some more patience. And I think in order to actually introduce AI responsibly into an organization, we first need to understand where we want to go, and then understand the toolings and the ecosystem that we have in order to support this change that can be gradual.
Excellent. All right, off to a great start. Okay, so I was at ACA's convention in San Diego last week, and a number of conversations that I had with people who were there, a lot of confusion. It seems like AI is kind of being put on every product, every service. Everybody in the exhibit booth is saying they're using AI in some way, shape, or form. So what I thought would be best to kind of, just as we start easing into this discussion, is actually sort of start to understand what is artificial intelligence. If I've never heard of it, if I've never used it, if I have no idea sort of what the concept is, how would you explain what artificial intelligence is, Shantanu?
Great question. Artificial intelligence is technically a 50-year-old term that was introduced partly by science fiction writers and partly by researchers. So you kind of already know that it is off to a good start if science fiction starts talking about it before researchers start talking about it. That being said, it essentially encapsulates all uses of technologies in order to replicate human behavior, and hence the term artificial intelligence as opposed to natural intelligence. So in the short strokes, it also includes things that humans do, which was the whole RPA 1.0 wave, which is kind of track your mouse movements, track your field inputs, and replicate those behaviors through RPA agent. So at the initial end of the spectrum, but more so in the last, like, let's say 18 months or so, it has really leapfrogged to mean a very, very deep understanding and very deep, very, very relevant generation of human-like language. And that has been like what has caught everyone's attention, especially in the last 18 months or so, which is what is the ability of machines to understand and generate human language, and not just language. In fact, it is pretty good at generating art. It's very good at generating imagery, music, and so on and so forth. And obviously, I'm talking about the industry at large, not just specifically collections. But there are obviously great use cases of artificial intelligence to mimic human behavior of generating music, to mimic human art creation. And so any machine process that is replicating and generating human-like behavior is very broadly defined in the realm of artificial intelligence. And if the way we kind of typically click it down is, so artificial intelligence has a very kind of subcategory called machine learning, which is basically machines that learn from behaviors it has seen in statistical other places, which is kind of different from rule-based behaviors that are not statistical in nature. So machine learning is a large subset of artificial intelligence. About a very specific kind of machine learning is neural networks, which basically builds upon learning layer by layer. And in 2017, what kind of kickstarted this whole wave of neural networks is this paper and this concept of transformers. So 2017, Google kind of put out this paper that is basically saying attention is all you need, which introduces this concept of transformers. And then the T there is the operative word, because every time when you hear about ChatGPT, the T is the transformers that Google introduced in 2017. Or if you think about BERT architecture, the T there in the BERT is the transformer architecture. So the latest wave and awakening of AI has happened in the world of transformers, which is, let's say, a subset of AI, where the transformer architecture has really taken the world by storm. It was a research paper that was put out in 2017, and some of the more recent applications have been really, really promising.
Yeah. And just building upon what Shantanu said, I think that particular term which he said, human-like behavior, right? That is the particular key over there. Because what we have seen is that there have been many tools, many platforms existing which used to automate kind of tasks and workflows. But now with the human-like nature of automating and kind of doing those workflows is what the AI brings in. I mean, just throwing an example over there, like traditional IVRs. Traditional IVRs used to work in a way in which they used to accept a Boolean, like a true or false, a yes or no, right? But those were like automating a task, but not like in a human way. If we are automating a task in a human way, that is what the AI has enabled. And that is what we are, that is, that's what the conversational AI does. That is what all these AI products are doing today.
Yeah, that actually,
sorry.
hits on a point that I was thinking about, which is, if you really look at a sophisticated decision tree, to your point, Vaibhav, it can look like, it can feel like AI in a way, because it's this automated rules-based, engine. So, a sophisticated decision tree, can feel like AI. I think if you want to dig a little bit deeper to understand, the product or the solution that you're using, and, what is the level of AI that's incorporated, you can look at things like, a machine learning model can be benchmarked, and it should improve over time. If it's truly learning, the prediction should get better over time. And so, whether it's the internal team or even in partnership with customers, being able to benchmark and show how, when models are retrained or as they're learning, what is that velocity of improvement, and being able to look at things like that. I also think understanding what type of data is able to go into the product or solution. Like, for example, if you're able to use unstructured data to make predictions, it's likely that there's some type of machine learning, natural language processing, happening behind the scenes to make use of that. I do think that on the other end of that, there's this burden of explainability that I think we have in our highly regulated environment, which is, even though the technology may be able to make all of these kind of black box predictions, at a certain point, we have to be accountable for those predictions depending upon what task or application it is. So in some ways, that can be a bit of a acceleration governor on exactly the types of technology that we can use. So finding that right mix between sophisticated decision tree and, deep learning, no explainability, finding the right mix there of what task you're trying to, point at, is a good way of working with your internal team or a vendor to understand, how AI is being used.
I think, Mike, to your question, and following what Shantanu said about the change that we had in the landscape at 2017 with a transformer architecture. So I remember a decade and a half ago, we already had these technologies. We had neural networks, recurrent neural networks, and etc. And we had also Gen AI. 2017 changed everything with transformers and the ability to actually parallelize computations, and obviously the rise of GPUs and CPUs. I think that the interesting part, and this is the actual gist of it, is that previously, I would say that it's a computer program that can handle basic tasks and make simple decisions. Nowadays, with the changes that we see following this change in 2017, it's a computer program that can handle complex tasks and handle complex decisions. And I feel like all of us here in the panel use it in a variety of ways in our products, in our day-to-day life. And we are only seeing the start of it, right? It's getting even more complicated and more complex and more intelligent as time passes. And we have the responsibility to actually introduce it in a safe and private manner.
So do I need to have a test? Do I need to have a question that I can ask? If someone tells me they're using AI, is there something I can ask or some way I can check to see if they're telling the truth, or whether it's just something that's sort of, made to look like it might be AI?
What Lucas said actually was super powerful there, which is especially if AI is truly built on a machine learning architecture. You should ask, and it should be very readily apparent how it improves in time. We have a bunch of customers, even in the attendee list, who can attest to the fact that our products improve on time with actually next to no human intervention. Human intervention helps, obviously, but without any human intervention, the machine should be able to learn on its own, as the words machine learning should stand by. And both the ability to explain that is super important, and proof points along how has that panned out is kind of a good test at the end of it. So that's kind of one. And then the second thing, which is actually, if I may take the liberty, Mike, the converse of your question, it is actually incredibly easy to create AI demos that are actually true AI, but those things don't actually scale in enterprise use cases where a lot of the people in the attendance are. So in some ways, in order to actually turn a demoware or vaporware into a reliable, usable system that operates on millions of data points in real time is the other test of actually bringing AI to production. It's actually the converse of your question. You can actually have true AI that works in a demo setting, but actually doesn't perform in production at scale. And the converse of your question, Mike, is just as important to ask. So it's not only important to ask, is it truly AI? But the question is it too much AI in a sense that you just put a wrapper on top of some fancy AI, but the thing really isn't made for prime time. And your customers are going to see a great demo, but it's never really going to scale beyond 10 or 15 use case, 10 or 15 deployments in your system.
Yeah, well said. I think the last point which Shantanu touched, even I was thinking about the same thing, that it should be scalable. I mean, obviously the human-like nature should come in. That is what the AI does as compared to traditional automation that used to happen. But if it is able to scale up for the enterprise scale, if it is able to scale up and cater to all the, all the higher volumes which are coming in, that is where the AI is coming in. Because if we have a case in which it's not proper AI, there is a human intervention happening, obviously the scale up happening will break because the human is involved. So obviously, when I say human is involved, a human in loop is something where humans are kind of working in conjunction or in the same workflow in which the AI is working. It can still happen that a particular part of the workflow is getting automated by AI and it's getting complemented by humans in the second part of the workflow. But AI and humans, if they are working in the same workflow, that is not happening, and that is not true AI because it will never scale up. Because humans will be involved in the same workflow as equally as AI is getting involved. And AI can scale up, but humans will not scale up. So for me, that is the test, that if it is able to scale up, that is the true AI over there.
Yeah, I agree, totally agree, and I would also add adaptive. These capabilities are they know how to learn new inputs and new data from users, and usually they adapt to changes. And so if it scales and it adapts to the new environment, then I would define it as AI. Yeah.
Digging down into AI, we've heard, I think, there are people that have heard different types of AI. There's conversational AI, there's generative AI. Are there differences between those two types and any other types of AI that people may come across in this industry?
Yeah, I think that
Go
I think that you would find even more terms. Sorry. I would classify, I think that the best classification that I would make today would be AI versus Gen AI. AI, and again, we're usually talking on a subset which is called machine learning under AI, which actually learns the behavior, learns data. But for the sake of the conversation, we'll talk about AI. It has a finite number of results and inputs that you can enter. So it's much more secure and much more private. You have control over what is the results that these models support. Gen AI has introduced the capability to generate new content, generate new results, which has tremendous abilities, right? It can also execute commands, these technologies. But on the other hand, you need capabilities to actually ensure that the inputs and the outputs of the models are secure and private, right? So that, for me, I think would be the best classification as I see it.
I think what I'm excited about is, how the advances with generative AI and large language models, and even things like computer vision and OCR technology can find, new data sources to apply. You can build new data attributes, even if you're using,
Yeah.
sort of the, more traditional machine learning techniques for, inventory segmentation and things like that. Being able to take things like call audio and develop sentiment analysis and feed features from the audio into your machine learning model to make predictions, to do segmentation, taking scan documents, being able to process those, create again more model attributes. You're just feeding more and more, have the ability to feed more and more data into the models that you're trying to create, which will certainly make them, you would hope, more predictive. And what I've seen, you could have a lot of success by incorporating some of these newer technologies to extract data. Maybe you're not using them on their own to make your predictions in your business, because you do need that factor of explainability, but at least being able to extract additional data, find more attributes and more comparisons so that you can do more accurate pattern matching. I think is really powerful, and that's what I'm excited about today.
Yeah. For me, what used to happen earlier with conversational AI, the standard conversational AI which existed before generative AI came into the game, was that conversational AI used to work on natural language understanding and semantic flows, basically, right? So over there, what used to happen is that these models used to get trained on specific inputs, and they were trained to give a specific output to the consumer, right? But now with the Gen AI coming in, Gen AI is basically working over the conversational AI which used to exist. It's working over the NLUs which used to exist. So Gen AI is able to, like Eyal and Lucas were explaining, right? Gen AI is able to basically generate content. It's able to give much more dynamic response. It's able to, talk in a much human-like manner. But having said that, there are other challenges which come in, which are basically that, we need to define the guardrails. We need to do a reinforcement learning of these models to ensure that they don't keep generating content. We need to kind of limit the content generation for specific industry in which we are, debt collections, because it's heavily regulated. So we can't have like random content getting generated. So now that is a challenge which comes in, that we need to set up strict guardrails to ensure that they don't deviate. So obviously there are multiple benefits which come in with this content generating AI, which is Gen AI, which came in, but we have to have those guardrails to ensure that it fits in this heavily regulated debt collection industry.
Totally agree.
And I'd be curious if you guys all agree with this, but I really think that, whenever we think of all the possibilities with generative AI, I think that there's, probably limitless opportunity there. for right now, I think really focusing on more of the narrow AI to look at specific jobs and tasks and figure out a way to, whether you're orchestrating, different types of AI, but really, focusing on that narrow focus of one job or task is probably the best way to deliver value today with AI. But I could see that expanding over time as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to kind of automate. I mean, we need to select a particular workflow and automate that workflow with Gen AI. I mean, kind of letting Gen AI do its own thing will not have any ROI coming out. I mean, if you select a particular workflow, kind of automate that workflow using Gen AI, and it gives a definite output and a result, that is how the ROI is going to be delivered for any business.
Okay, so now that we've kind of put our guardrails around and sort of started to understand what it is, how it works, what some of the different terms are, let's start to apply those to the industry. Are there specific jobs or tasks that are more likely to be replaced or augmented by using AI? How do I start to think about how I can actually start to use it in my operation?
So
Yeah, so I think,
I kind of think of,
go ahead.
if I may, I kind of think of three axes: sophistication, repeatability, and cost. So you want to target AI first and foremost to tasks that are relatively low sophistication. Because AI obviously consumes data, you want to do it for tasks that are fairly frequent. The low frequency tasks kind of you don't care about as much to bring in AI, but at the same time have a high cost. So any kind of tasks that are high frequency, high cost, but relatively low sophistication fit that bill. And mentally, I would think of it as, if you'd find like a high schooler, like a ninth grader, and anything, if a high schooler said, hey, I want to spend a summer in my firm, in my agency, what is the kind of work you would give the high schooler? It's probably ripe for AI-led disruption at this point. Anything that requires 40 years of experience, anything that requires a lot of sophistication, and things that require probably decisions that you make like less than once a week are probably not that interesting. So to that extent, that is the kind of outreach, and that is the kind of focus and prioritization that you should target for AI-led jobs.
Yeah. I agree with Shantanu. I would have said the same thing, but now I'll back it up with an example of what we have seen as Skid. I mean, we work in conversational AI, and we have seen that how the workflows or how a typical debt collection call goes through, right? And we have seen that most of the time is getting spent in connecting to a consumer, authenticating a consumer, and then doing a promise to pay. And then finally the collection happens, right? And doing the collection is the whole output or whole outcome of the call. Now, if we are able to automate an entire workflow, that's the best. Or even if we are able to automate the authentication or the promise to pay particular part, that is still, an output coming in, because most of the time is getting spent in these tasks which are repetitive in nature and consuming a lot of human bandwidth. So exactly, what Shantanu said, that is what happens in the end, right? If we can automate a repetitive task and it can deliver value either completely, it can do the complete workflow end to end, or it can even do the partial workflow, which can in the end save some FTE minutes. That is something which is a good use case for AI.
Yeah, I would like to extend on that, and actually I agree on the repetitive part of that, and also not only repetitive but scalable, right? So a task that you have to do multiple times. But I would challenge the assumption of its simplicity. We were able to train an LLM at Cedric that is very intelligent, has the capabilities of understanding compliance in depth. And we actually challenged it with multiple tests to find violations in multiple types of interactions, whether if it's marketing material or if it's conversations that agents have, and it's able to pick up this knowledge very well, I have to say. So, and I think this is the trend that we are seeing right now with the large language models, the LLMs, that they are getting more intelligent. They are able to perform these complex tasks as well.
I think
Right.
it's
No, I
also
don't doubt that, and that is.
Go ahead, Shantanu.
No, I agree. I think I don't doubt. I think that's a case where I think the demoware versus like real time kind of obviously production use cases. You need like a roadmap, and most people in the audience probably I've heard it more from people in the audience that I would like to say myself is like the whole you crawl before you walk and you walk before you run kind of stuff. And my framework essentially gives you a roadmap to do that. Sorry, back to you, Lucas.
No, that's great. I just want to add in that I think considering, the ability of your team to operationalize the tool is really important as well. If the senior executives, sign on to build a model, the model's fantastic, the back test looks phenomenal. You have a really predictive model in production, and then all of a sudden, nothing changes in the operational strategy, and you're still just going to call every account the same, or you're still going to treat every account the same, and you're not actually going to experiment to incorporate the tool into your business. I think it's really important whenever you take on one of these endeavors is to really make sure that the operational leadership team is on board and aligned on how it's going to be incorporated into the business. And then also, how are you all going to agree on the success or lack of success on where you're at in your journey? And that's really important. You have to remember that science is in the word data science, and it's important to be kind of put your lab coat in and you're out with your operational team to say, how is this working? Just because we have a really predictive model, if we're not seeing the results we expect, let's figure out why that's happening and how can we experiment further and make sure we're ready as a team to be aligned on incorporating this so we're not wasting our time.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me as someone who's obviously not an AI expert is, the premise that AI is going to revolutionize and take over and replace, so much of what you do on a daily basis, or it's going to make you so much more effective. And, listening to the four of you, talking about sort of starting small, and it's the equivalent of like, a high schooler on a summer job. There seems to be maybe there's a disconnect between sort of what the expectation is and what the actual sort of end result is with respect to using AI. Is that something you're coming across? Is that something you have to deal with, or is that something that maybe I'm not really sort of characterizing properly?
No, I think it's it's a very nuanced observation, and I actually agree with you. I think it is more a question of sequencing and relative order of prioritization versus the downstream potential, which is obviously very incredible. I was reminded of an article today morning which basically said Taco Bell is using IVRs or like voice IVRs for their drive-through ordering because they're outperforming their people. And I think the headline itself had that thing where the headline kind of very clearly pointed out that all that they expected the voice IVR in a Taco Bell drive-through was to outperform the people who are doing the job, not be perfect. And I think there is the kind of there is the first hint of how you actually go about making practical decisions about AI, rather than get caught up exactly between this dilemma of wanting a superhero in your pocket, but then having some expectations mismatch with respect to how some of it will play out today, tomorrow, and 2 years from now.
Yeah. I think before deploying any AI solution, there's a strict need to do a ROI analysis, right? I mean, we do it for our customer. I mean, we always think that deploying any AI solution needs a definite ROI calculation to be done beforehand, that if this solution is going to deliver any value. And if it is going to deliver value, then yeah, there is definitely a kind of a use case to deploy it over there. But having said that, I mean, there's also a very, very fast user adoption happening. I mean, we were quite kind of amazed to see the way users are adopting to AI. I mean, just giving you an anecdote, an example over there. I mean, what we have observed is that the voice bots that, we make, I mean, for many of our customers, we have seen The voice bot does an outbound calling, and we see that consumers have now started calling every month into the voice bot just to make their payment, because they are feeling and they are finding it very comfortable to just call in into the voice bot, use their card, and make the payment of the installment that they have each month. So yeah, there are two things. I mean, obviously the ROI calculation needs to be done, as well as the adoption, the quick adoption of users that is happening also needs to be kept in mind. So it's at a very exponential growth path. So that also needs to be taken care of.
That's true. I think partly because ChatGPT was introduced in a very consumer-like way, the common user, the common borrower experience, the common obviously team experience in your teams has actually benefited from the education and then the mass media coverage that ChatGPT got. And they also realized that there is talking to machines is going to feel different. Chatting with machines is going to feel different. Kind of getting emails from machines that are personalized are going to feel very different than it was previously. So I think some of that user education was paid for by Microsoft.
Yeah,
So
ChatGPT really changed the landscape. It made AI much more prevalent, much more approachable. Every person has the ability to actually open a chat and use it, and it did a great service for the AI community. I think that for us in our domain, our responsibility is actually to have a secure and private AI in our models, and also educate the actual customers on how to use it properly and what are the benefits, and make it more approachable to the industry, right? So how actually ChatGPT translates into their day-to-day workflows.
Yeah, I think it's great seeing the alignment of the technology being used to create a better, we finally figured out that a better experience for the customer or the end, the consumer at the end is also good for revenue and performance, and being able to have those more tightly aligned. Whenever I started in collections 20 years ago, we still had, those pockets of, oh, well, if you just, beat them over the head and scare everybody, you're gonna outperform your competition. But being able to kind of peel back those layers, understand the different types of behaviors for different types of consumers, and segment along those lines, and then have different treatments that match the success, that give you the best success and the best experience for each of those consumer types, I think is really valuable, and I think overall good for the industry.
Yeah. Question here from the audience. I'm curious to know how each of the panelists have already incorporated the use of AI into the environments they manage, both from an agent perspective and that of operations management.
Yeah, super relevant, I think, and touches upon the change management that you need to do alongside deploying AI. Our customers, again, including like some people on this call, have really driven their agents to change the behavior. So we sit side by side like a co-pilot alongside the agents, let's say telephony system, the agents like email inbox and CRM. That is guiding every step along the way, and that not only is generating compliance next steps, but also like the next best thing to drive offers. What are the kind of offers that we present? For whom does it even make sense to offer like a long plan versus not a long plan? Unlike a website where you can show multiple offers at the same time, on the phone, when an agent is talking to a borrower, you're forced to serialize these offers. So then the question is, what is the first thing that you offer? And do you think that's even a reasonable thing? And those are the kind of like last minute feedback that we are presenting to the agents in a very generative AI kind of setup. And the agents adoption has been great because, again, thanks to ChatGPT, they realize this whole concept of like someone is typing your ChatGPT response, you see it come typing, and that whole experience has made them ready to adopt our Pro Assist, which is the in-call agent assistance, as well as this thing that makes them efficient between calls. So to answer Patrick's question, that's like one here and now such thing that has we currently generate more notes and more prompts than all of Genesis Pure Connect, and that has been like a beauty of like adapting this AI to this particular industry. And as a result of it, agent experience is actually much better, and most importantly, the ROI from the time saved and agents actually presenting relevant things on the call to the borrowers or to the other end, the consumer on the other end of the line, becomes super powerful because they're just like improving the bottom line.
Yeah. On the Skit side, what we have done is that providing multi-channel conversational AI solutions, what we have realized and what we have done is that all the AI agents, and when I say AI agents, counting also the human agents in that all these AI agents along with the human agents work in a complementary nature. So let's say a voice bot talks to a particular consumer and it ends the call at a particular point, right? The SMS bot can pick up at that particular point. Even the human agents are able to pick at that particular point because all these systems, all these agents are basically connected to each other. So we basically, avoid the double work being done by agents as well as any other AI agent like voice bot, SMS bot, email bot, or web chat bot, right? So it's like all of these are working in complementary nature to each other. And in the end, it ends up in saving FTE minutes. I mean, that is the whole ROI which comes in finally. And we have seen that it saves, I mean, ballpark, it saves more than 20%, 20 to 30% of FTE minutes get saved with all of these systems working in conjunction with each other. And that is the hard, tangible ROI getting delivered. So agents are very well adopted to this thing. They pick up from that particular point where any of the AI agent leaves and take the conversion forward. So that's a very good adoption that we have seen on the agent side.
I really appreciate the separation
Yeah.
and question of like the agent perspective
For
versus the
us,
operations
much
management.
like Shanta.
Sorry, Al, go ahead. Go ahead, Al.
No, go ahead, Lucas. It's all good.
I was just going to say that I really appreciate the separation of the agent perspective from operations management because there's many times whenever those things can be at odds, right? And finding, ways to make sure that agents understand the value of bringing these types of tools into the business, and making them feel comfortable that look, the singular goal isn't to replace you, it's to really, I think every operations manager would be happy if they were taking their top agent and doubling their right party contacts, and the contacts they're getting are the people who really have both the willingness and the ability to pay. And you're not wasting time making phone calls and leaving messages or making notes and doing all this kind of stuff. It's really about taking what, in my experience, if I took my, back in the days whenever I had a team, if I took my best collector and said, look at this account and tell me if it's good or not, I would hope that the machine learning model could find those similar insights and maybe even add a couple extra, to just make sure that we know that we're not going to have a top performer looking at every single account. The goal is to have that site where you have your top performer, and if you could show them every single account that you get and have them make that judgment call, that's essentially what we're trying to do many times, to pick the right account, the right person to talk to, and finding that synergy between making their job better, making them more successful, increasing their bonus and increasing their opportunity, and taking some of this work that takes time away from talking to consumers to negotiate, and leaving that to the machines. Because I remember even back in the day, whenever I was a collector, if you have one of those days, if you're just on the dialer all day and you're not talking to many people, it's miserable. Like, so having all these tools to your ability, and hopefully, you just sort of become an inbound call answer, and you're only taking the ones where they need to talk to an agent to resolve their bill and they actually, want to do it, I think is fantastic. So, it's really good to call out those two perspectives. And I think you always have to address both the management and the agent whenever you're implementing tools like this.
Yeah, Lucas, I totally agree. And for us, it's not only that we start with the agent having a real-time co-pilot assisting him during the conversations and recommending a specific answer. We also do a follow-up into the entire compliance lifecycle. So we also have an enforcement using AI, which scans all of these calls. And these models are trained to find violations in the conversation, follow up with mitigation strategies, right? So if there were violations, you can trigger training activities, conversations, again, using AI. And lastly, audits, automated audits that show this entire workflow. This is for the agents themselves. But Lucas, I agree that we need to look at it from both perspectives. So not only the agents, both the operational agent and the compliance agent are the ones who are benefiting from these capabilities, but also the management. They have an overview, dashboards and reports and auditing that they can review how these products are actually driving ROI, first off, to what you said before, but also to monitor this process from above.
Yeah. And just building upon Lucas' point, right? I mean, that is very important. I mean, what we have seen is that if agents keep spending time on mundane and repetitive tasks, right, they don't end up doing the hard collections which they are meant to do. And if AI can contribute in doing those repetitive tasks, agents can focus on doing the hard collections, which increases their morale and their willingness to contribute further. And that is where the benefit to agents come in. And the AI basically, I mean, the savings coming in from AI should be looked in as reinvestment into the business, right? So even if any bandwidth is getting saved of FTEs, of agents because of any AI implementation, that bandwidth can be repurposed into the business to increase the top line further without impacting the bottom line, right? So that is how the margins are getting improved. So it's like a win-win situation for both the agents working on the floor as well as the management who is managing the business and looking at the top line.
Yeah, it's a great tool for employee retention, as you're saying, right? To streamline these mundane tasks, but also, enable them to have these co-pilot capabilities and augmenting their day-to-day job with these capabilities. And I feel like we are all more technological than we were in the past, and these agents. They want to perform better at their job, and they are thrilled to have these capabilities right beside them.
Yeah, and not just for the agents, right? I know Patrick's question was about agents, but realistically, a lot of work and time goes in client management, account management. A lot of every week or every month, you need to report to your customers, be it hospitals, be it debt buyers, be it lenders. And AI has gotten really good at actually helping turbocharge that. So our customers are just we just generating PDFs using AI that can then very directly just be sent to debt buyers, obviously with human review, but at the same time, what used to previously take order of magnitude 2 to 3 days a month now takes 20 minutes. And that kind of productivity is again something that you bring back to actually do the storytelling and the narrative about what happened in this month with this portfolio for this hospital or this debt buyer, rather than trying to just spend a lot of your time doing janitorial work on data. And that is the kind of boost that again brings out the best in people, the creativity, the human relationship management, that again is to Patrick's question there, makes employees as well as managers, supervisors really powerful, while actually taking away some of the most repetitive mundane tasks out of their day with the click of a button.
Question from the audience. I'll paraphrase. There's an element of risk involved with replacing a human level of control with the proficiency of AI. How do we deal with this as developers and in general convince management to invest in AI?
I think it's a very astute question. It feels like someone has, it is a developer's pain. I think the question kind of, I see Lucas smiling as well. It's not an easy, there's no black and white answer. There's no single silver bullet. But what really comes in is an ability to kind of completely show that the so two things. One is quantify the number of times when AI gets something wrong, and then also actually quantify the magnitude of what wrong means, right? For example, if we are generating millions of notes every single day, then the likelihood of like a one word being, being less than ideal is actually possible, but the risk of that, it's unlikely that the word is going to be like drastically different in meaning than what we would expect. And so to that extent, the quanta of difference is actually fairly boring, and so to that extent I think people adopt to it, and that has been like a big change, where not only do you need to, lot of it comes to experience. You can run backtest, which is what we do. So you run backtest on large data sets and say, hey, if this AI was in action in the month of July, this is the output that it would have generated. Now, in the month of July, we obviously spend so much time, money, and energy in generating this output. But if the AI was in place, this is the output that it would have generated. And what do we think, with a very neutral review, what do we think it got right and it got wrong? And most people very quickly come around to the point of view that it's actually like ready for prime time. And doing these back tests, doing kind of offline test, AA test, which is like AI is running in parallel to humans at the same time. But you're kind of doing some redundant work for a couple of weeks, saves you a lot of effort down the road.
I think.
Listen, I think that.
Yeah. Go forward.
Sorry. So I think that, listen, every change, in an organizational level is a challenge. More, especially when you are not really, you don't understand thoroughly what it means, right? What AI means, what the change means. And I agree that the first thing that you need to do is actually see business value, right? So you can do it using POCs, using sandbox. This is also what we do in our company. And prove business value. This is the first point. And I think that the second one would be to make sure that you have the guardrails in place, which means standards, audits, see that in terms of security and privacy, everything is taken care of. And if these 2 points are in place, then I believe that management will be more open to actually do this change. Obviously, also education, basic education about what AI means and how you can benefit could also be beneficial.
I think we also need to understand the workflow where we are, kind of automating things, and need to ensure that there's a fallback mechanism always available. I mean, working in an industry of debt collections, in our industry, we know that a consumer calling in to make a payment, we can't lose him or her, right? So having a proper fallback mechanism in place that, okay, if the AI is not able to cater to that particular consumer, we have a fallback mechanism in place in which it can connect to human agents. So ensuring that particular workflow is well designed to ensure no consumer, falls off the call, because as I said, I mean, each consumer coming in is a gold mine, right? So that is the place where, the whole, the benefit lies. I mean, understanding the workflow properly and designing that in a manner that there's no impact of AI coming in, there's only positive impact coming in.
We've only got a few minutes left here, so what we'll do is we'll start to wrap up, and what I'll do is go around the panel and ask each of you, for everybody who's watching this webinar, what's the first thing they should do as soon as it's over, as soon as they go back to work for the rest of their day, or as soon as they show up to work tomorrow? We've been talking about AI for an hour. What's the first thing companies should do or people should do? Ayel, we'll start with you.
Yeah, first off, I think that there is no urgency, right? So you don't have to wake up the first thing tomorrow and do a specific thing. But I feel like, first off, you need to identify the goals that you would like to achieve as an organization, right? And then explore, there are tools and there are capabilities out there, and try to evaluate these technologies and see if they work for you, right? As I said it in the beginning, it's a means to an end, right? So do it in a manner that is actually bringing you value and is secure and safe. This is what I think.
Excellent, thank you. Shantanu?
You could always give us a call I'm Shantanu at prodigaltech.com, but plug for Prodigal aside. The question really is, yeah, what parts of your job are very repeatable and essentially ripe for innovation? Because you yourself probably go around the thought, it's quite likely that in the last 6 months you're thought to like, why do I even need to do this? And are we really spending so much time and energy doing this? Anytime there is a job which has triggered this thought in your mind, that is ripe for AI-led disruption. It could be, like Lucas said, OCR or like document extraction kind of stuff. It could be voice bots. It could be what we do, which is a lot of agent automation, a lot of digital outreach. All of those things are tasks that our customers have brought to our notice, saying, I spend an unholy amount of time and energy in this every week, every month. Is there something you can do for me? And as a result of that, I think all of those are really ripe for AI. A last parting thought, like part of the webinar title was what AI cannot do. And we actually didn't get a lot of time to discuss that, but it would be a wonderful separate webinar as well, because that is a fascinating topic. What is the value of human creativity and human judgment, and what is it that AI cannot do? But I hope to discuss it some other time.
Excellent, thank you. Vaibhav?
I think everyone should go back and just have a, like I said at the beginning of the call, do a level 1 analysis in their organization. If there is any particular use case they think of can be automated with AI, even the level 1, very high level, right? If the answer is not a hard no, like I said, they are experts who can consult and who can help you in decision making. Like we as Skit, we also do no obligation consulting, right? So definitely, if your answer is not a hard no to any automation, any AI automation in your organization, please go out and explore. And maybe the answer would fascinate you.
Excellent, thanks. Lucas?
Yeah, I think the thing for me that is probably the easiest thing to do tomorrow is to look at how you and your team run experiments. And are you able to accurately and effectively segment inventory and take different strategies and different actions in parallel? And are you able to do that randomly? And how, what is the longevity of your ability to do that? Do you just run 2-week tests and be done with it? Or can you really adapt and adopt a culture of experimentation? That is what will make you the most successful in whatever you choose to do in the AI landscape. It also helps, really create a North Star for the team so that, there's less arguing on, is this successful? Is this not successful? Things like that. It's building that transparency and experimentation that you need no matter what direction you go. And it's something that you can do tomorrow. So that would be my advice.
Excellent. Well, Lucas, Vaibhav, Shantanu, I want to thank each of you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
On behalf of everybody who's watching and listening and walking away with a much better understanding of what AI is, what it can do, and how they should be looking to deploy it in their offices. Thanks to each of you for being here. To those of you watching, thank you so much.
Mike.
If you're watching us live or watching a recording, appreciate it. If you are watching us live, we're back tomorrow with a webinar at 1 o'clock on disclosures and what disclosures need to be made during communications with consumers. So if you haven't signed up for that yet, there's a link in the chat, or you can go to the events calendar on accountrecovery.net and sign up. So we hope to see you back tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Thanks so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing everybody soon. Thanks, guys.